Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your
Sir, come on. No, now you're going to do it. There you go. He goes like this. He wasn't going to clap. All right, guys, listen. Grease and Gears Garage. Who are we? Custom motorcycle builders. What do we do? If you can't figure that out from the description, I cannot help you. You shouldn't even been allowed out of the house today. We build custom motorcycles.
Mostly we do anything that we can to pay bills.
To pay bills, that's right. We're really poor, greasy mechanics is what we are. Chris, Callan, myself, and Mark, who usually looks like Gimli, but he's got his hair up today. I don't know why. He played Gimli in Lord of the Rings, and he's still salty that series ended.
I don't know.
I said there's only so many books, Gimli. But anyway, we travel around the country. We've got our own shops. I'm out of Sin Central Garage in Iowa. Mark and Chris have flat broke chops and rods out of Pittsburgh. Chris also is the founder, editor, and owner of Cycle Source Magazine, the only grassroots magazine in the United States, and the #2 motorcycle magazine in the world. But we travel around. We invite our builder friends up to show us what they do, just a slice of life out of their shop. But we don't do it for them. We do it for you guys, because what we want to do is we want to inspire you and educate you and entertain you a little bit with it, so that you will take whatever you're doing, whether it's a dirt bike, a Honda, a Yamaha, a BMW, a Harley, whatever you're riding, that you can go back and you know that you can, with your hands, customize your bike. You can either make it perform more like you want it to perform, or you can make it look a little different and stand out. You can do it. And so that's why we're here. We Facebook Live this. We've got cameras around. So believe it or not, we have any place between 20 and 60,000 people on Facebook Live right now that are logging in, and they're going to be asking questions and stuff. And so I tell you that as well, though, because all of it's archived. We've been doing this for this whole 7-show series, plus rallies before this. You can go back and look at whatever we've done. It's archived there. Go check it out. Grease and Gears Garage YouTube channel, motorcycleshows.com. Stop standing behind me doing stupid crap. You can go to Cycle Source Magazine, social media. You can go to JMP Cycles, world's largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts. Great partner of ours. But anyway, so check all that stuff out. We're excited right now. We got a cat. I met him a couple of years ago, and he's an old NASCAR guy, right? Old NASCAR guy, and then he went into drag racing. And you're like, well, this is a motorcycle show. Get him the hell off the stage. But he's supposed to be here. He does a lot of cool stuff. He started a company, and I love the story. Why did you build the first shocks that you built?
Well, I couldn't find anything that I liked for my bike. So the guys that I worked with in NASCAR and stuff used to say, well, Mike, you got all this shit laying around. Do something with it. So I built my own shocks. And that was end of story. Put them on my bike. We're going somewhere with me. Let me ride your bike for a while because I need to get off what you did to your bike, but make my bike do that. So I went, No, his brother rode his bike and said, I don't know what you did. And I did. Also, NASCAR is a great sport, and the people in it are phenomenal. They're awesome people. But it's a young man sport, and I knew that at some point my days were numbered. And I wanted to do something different. I've been a motorcycle guy my whole life, love bikes, and I thought I'll just make shocks just a little bit at a time. And it's turned into a full-fledged business.
Suspension Technologies, and then Suspension Technologies is merged with a company called Yelvington Designs, and they do some cool reverse stuff. But so we've got Mike here from Suspension Technologies, and they really do. They've brought a completely different I keep, Danny's gone, so I'm not trying to suck up to him anymore. I love what Danny from Zipper says about his motors. I think we all ought to start using the phrase and just steal it from him. It's craft built. It's something that's built specifically for the application that it's intended for.
Well, you know what's funny is when we first met Mike, it was really starting to come to the forefront of people's minds in the V-twin industry that we needed suspension. And it's funny because my generation and guys younger than me, we grew up with tuned suspension, riding dirt bike, riding motocross. Like, we were used to, the suspension being designed specifically for our weight, specifically for our riding style, specifically for our, how we were going to set up for even specific tracks. You know what I mean? But for some reason, that transition never happened between what we did on the dirt and what we did at track days with road racing into riding our bikes on the street.
Well, when I met Mike, it had already kind of dawned on me that suspension was important because I had customers that wanted their bikes to ride better. But I didn't realize until I met Mike and I went down and he showed me stuff. I didn't realize there was such a thing as a dyno for shocks. Did you guys know that? You dyno engines, you dyno shocks. But you know who doesn't dyno shocks? Most of the major manufacturers of shocks that you would be familiar with for whatever brand of motorcycles out here. And I didn't realize it. That. So we're going to get into all that. But anyway, we got Mike, and I don't know why Hank's up here.
Bringing up the
He brought the boxes.
Hank Thibodeau. Hank Thibodeau. You'd think with a good Cajun name, it'd be from Louisiana. He's from North Carolina. He talks funny. You must have been up in eastern North Carolina, northeastern at some point, because you say out and about, just like all these people here.
Thing.
House, out, about.
Yankee thing.
You guys talk. You said out earlier today.
Out.
So anyway, Mike.
Hank's actually here. One of the things that we pride ourselves on, whether it be our dealers or John Q. Public, when you call our shop and you want to talk to someone, either a technical question or a service question or whatever, my partner Noah is sitting out there in the audience right now. You talk to us. You don't talk to somebody that knows nothing about this or a technician. You talk to us about our product. Hank carries our product in his shop. He sells a lot of our product. He does a great job. So Hank's here to assist me today. He's going to do a front cartridge install, and we were going to put a set of shocks on this bike, but these cats are so busy with this, we're just going to show you quickly how that happens. So that's why Hank's here. He's here to help us out, and he's awesome.
And so that you guys understand why there's other people up here doing stuff and making noise. This is War Pony, and it's a bike that we've been building. The Grease and Gears Garage Crew's been building since the first show in Long Beach, the first Progressive International Motorcycle Show. And at that show, we went to that show and said, this bike is going to ride off the stage in Washington, D.C. That seemed like a great idea at the first show. By the third show, we were like, what the hell were we thinking? That is the worst idea ever. But now we are, this thing's tomorrow is supposed to start up and ride off the stage. And so we have been feverishly, the motor just got here this weekend.
Well, and hey, it's important to remind you guys that when we were in Long Beach, we made a trip up to Paco to pick the frame up. The frame in Long Beach was just a naked frame. We put some parts next to it, and we said, okay, this is how this bike's going to be really cool. And we started right in Long Beach. So
this was a bare metal frame, and in Long Beach, Chris and Heather found a GSXR front end on Craigslist and went and bought it. I mean, that's as far as we thought through it.
Right.
So anyway, so Chris is going to ride this back to Pittsburgh tomorrow.
And
the
I'm
van,
driving
there
to
you go.
Pittsburgh.
So, all right. We made a promise to Grady from the front office, and we're a little afraid of Grady. Grady doesn't have a gun, but Grady's got a checkbook, and we don't want Grady to get nervous about his.
Hey, listen, more importantly than any of that, I made that's my word. I said that this is what we were going to do.
Got to
with
keep
the
your
help
word.
of all my friends, we're going to see it through. And
Awesome.
All right. So now make Hank do something.
Well, before we get to Hank, we'll cover the rear shocks real quick.
Hold tight, Hank.
Just to so. And in my opinion, Harley makes one of the coolest bikes on the planet to make it ride a little bit better and handle a little bit better. Harley and enhance it. So we make a true monotube. valve does 25% of the damping force. So the piston assembly doesn't have to work as hard. So when it transitions, what that does is, and you can't see it in here, but we've got a floating piston on the nitrogen. Allows this shock to do some amazing things. Tube. But because we use the base valve and we balance everything, we use low had in its travel, it will make damping force. And that's what sets us apart from other people, and it allows your bike to follow the road better. If you got big crappy ass bumps in your road, you're going to feel them because it's going to follow the road. What we've done is we valved it to make it smoother and softer, but still handle quite nicely. Now on a bike like this, or your touring bike, or whatever bike you have, with the exception of like a Softail, it's a real simple change. Take the upper bolt out, the lower bolt out, you have a jack underneath it, take the shock off, you put this on, you bolt it back on, done deal. It's quick, easy, anybody can do it in their garage. What's really nice is Hank takes care of his customers. He gets these customers come in, he can change this in a matter of minutes. He gets a lot of guys that are traveling through his area that their shocks are worn out. He can make his customer happy within 10, 15 minutes. Another nice thing about our stuff is we use a square cut Acme thread on our spring adjustment. Wherever I turn this cup to either make it softer or stiffer, it will stay there. So you don't need any special tools. So this is on your bike, you want to make a quick adjustment, you loaded your bike way down with stuff, you can reach down here, read the label, make the adjustment, it's done. Our stuff is all hand assembled and dyno tested. These two shocks are within 2% of each other. We're one of the few people in the industry to do that. There's a couple other companies out there. One of them has been around forever. Their stuff, again, is within 2%. Because we dyno test everything, I can go back in 5 years. You can say to me, Mike, I think my shock's messed up. I can look at the original dyno graph. I can put these back on the dyno. And if they match up, if they look just like they did when we built them, you got something else going on. If not, I can rebuild them and send them back to you, and all it did was cost you the price of shipping and a few odds and ends here and there.
That blows my mind, man. I had no idea that it was that kind of, that you could do that with shock absorbers. It just, it kills me. I mean,
but we can do that with front end too.
Let me see. I don't believe you.
So we started making a cartridge front end. I'm probably going to need a
knife,
an instrument. Oh, look at that. Hank's, see, that's why Hank's here.
That's why Hank's here, because he has a
got
weapon.
This covered. Something else we're very proud of, we use Spectral oil. Spectral's been with us from the beginning, and they're phenomenal. They treat us great. We've done a lot of work with them. They're really, really good people. So our front fork cartridge kit, comes complete. Everything you need to put this in the bike is in this kit.
He don't need no stinking knife, man.
They don't let me have a knife. They took it away at the airport, just like yours.
Yeah. Made me real happy.
So what I was telling you about in that shock absorber, we have the same thing in this cartridge. We have a piston assembly, we have a floating piston, we have a base valve assembly.
I don't go that way.
This is all self-contained. There's a company out of Rancho Cucamonga, California called Patriot Suspension. All they do is make springs, and they make phenomenal springs. And they've worked with us very closely for the last 10 years developing springs. Our rear shocks, some of our metric shocks, our front spring. This is a truly progressive wound spring. So this will handle a variety of different inputs. So when this is on your bike, again, you have a real bumpy road, or you have a lot of undulations, which are those big swells, kind of like waves, but in the road. This spring will handle that nicely. This, again, is completely rebuildable. If I take this apart, I can change out these parts and make it fresh again. We're one of the few companies in the industry. This gets dyno tested as well. Our dyno is very sophisticated, and it's set up in such a way that I can put this in the dyno and I can test it as a complete unit. I can cancel out the spring input and measure just what the damping force is doing in the shock, or I can look at just the spring input, or combine the way you're going to feel it on your bike. And we make these for a variety of the Harleys. We make these in a 1-inch lower also. If you want to lower your bike, you can lower the front and rear so you maintain the trail and rake like you're supposed to. You know, everybody loves to have a lowered bike. You look at these custom bikes out here, man, they're laying on the ground. Down in Florida, the roads are smooth. They're nice. We lower our bikes. So we've come up with the options where you can lower your bike the correct way. A lot of guys, they'll lower their bike in some pretty bizarre ways, man. We've seen it all, believe me.
One thing I see is real popular is you loosen the pinch bolts on your triple trees.
Oh, yeah.
And just slide them down the fork tubes, you know. Now my bike's lowered in the front.
I watched a guy one time, you're going to love this, took the bottom bolt off, and he put a U-bolt in here. He put like a muffler clamp U-bolt, moved it back 1 inch, and tightened this up and tightened that up.
Oh.
And it worked for about a mile until this bitch rolled up.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so Hank's going to put a front end in these forks over here to show you how easy it is. And again, you know, you want your bike to do, and we're talking about custom bikes and different things, but even your stock bike, you want it to do something different. You want it to meet your needs. Some guys really, they came off sport bikes and they want their bike to handle like a sport bike. Other guys, they've been in the cruiser bikes their whole life. You know, I've been around bikes forever, and some of the early bikes that I rode are way different than the bikes today. You know, the old Panhead I used to ride is way different than the stuff I'm riding today. Well, we've developed products that you can take some of your older bikes and make them ride and handle like the new bikes. And that was our whole goal, is to give you a bike that rides more comfortably, handles well, which means you're going to stay on it longer. If you go on a trip and you get tired after 2 or 3 hours, that's no good. But if you go on a trip and you can ride 4, 5, 6 hours, it's a big plus. If your passenger is way more comfortable at the end of the day, that's a big plus for us. And that's what we go after.
Now Hank has to do something?
We get for you, we get to take a progressive suspension out.
Well, they make a good product. So.
All right, where are we starting, Hank?
I'll start at the base.
Yeah, loosen this one. Just now, I think Hank already drained the oil out of this, but if not, we're going to find out real quick.
Patrick was supposed
It
right,
didn't happen then.
Where's Patrick? Patrick's on the hook here.
Patrick Murphy, you know.
Patrick tightened it.
Uh-oh. Just getting out the big tools.
I have to go manual. We're going to have to change the location, I reckon.
One of the things that's nice that I love about doing Grease and Gears Garage is you really see, you know, you do stuff at the house and you're like, oh, that was dumb. Why did I do that? It happens to everybody. I mean, you just can't think of everything. I mean, Hank just went and turned that and it just spun around. He was like, oh, yeah, I got to move that. So
He may have to get his legs powder coated.
Say that again.
He may have to get his legs repowder coated. It'll be okay.
So you're blaming him for everything, aren't you?
I always do.
They're Patrick's forks, so Hank just said if they break, that's Patrick's problem.
Patrick Murphy, where are you? Where is he? Did he go take a nap?
He's taking care of the bikes.
Oh, he's taking care of the bikes. Hank out of Widowmaker actually has a couple of man, just outrageous bikes here in the JMP Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show. If you head out of here and just go straight up there, they're on the left, man. They're incredible. 11 feet long is the one that we were talking about earlier. Patrick works with me. He just happens to have the same name as I do.
There we go.
But I like to think he and I aren't the same.
You sure you trained the oil out of this?
They said he did.
Okay.
Patrick Murphy.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
It's not pouring out on the floor. The nice thing about fork oil is if you do get it on your hands or on your shop floor or on anything else, it'll just always stay there. There isn't any chemical in the world that will clean up fork oil for some reason, I've found. Man, that stuff is just messy and it gets everywhere. But it looks like Patrick did what he said.
It's that damn brass washer in there. There you go.
Oh, he used super glue.
There you go. All right, now Hank, tell us what you're doing here.
We're removing the rebound dampener rod screw so that we can take the fork assembly loose. Inside this fork right now currently is actually progressive suspension cartridge kit is actually in this. Patrick had installed this about a year ago. It's a decent product, but since Mike came out with a new product, we wanted to give theirs a try. And so in my shop, we like to give customers a good, real feel opinion as to what we believe is a great product.
Right on.
All right. And we need that. Oh, I guess he didn't get all the oil out.
You can make a big mess. I'll get Mark to clean it up later. Thank God Mark's ignoring it. Now, what are these forks off of?
2015 Street Glide.
And the 4 kits that we have, like I mentioned, we have them in standard length and 1 inch lower.
Okay.
I'm going to pull that up. There we go.
And do you want to just
I'm going to dump the other
dump
stuff
that
in.
over there?
That's fine.
What do you need?
Just a clean spot.
Nice.
Yeah. We shouldn't have to.
It is
take
never
all the egg out
recommended
there.
that you use
Yeah, you're gonna have to take
your best bath towels for this procedure. I speak from experience. And that and powder coating in the oven in the kitchen. Those are the 2 things my first wife didn't like.
What about your second?
I don't do that anymore. Turns out I'm trainable. I'm like a monkey. You can train me. And the other thing she didn't like is when I used aircraft stripper to strip a frame in the tub. That's a no-no in the house too, as it turns out. It ruins the tub.
So it might be a little difficult down there to see this, but we've taken all
They've
the
got
parts.
cameras here, so they'll be able to see it on the
Oh,
screens.
sweet.
Inside.
We've taken all the parts out of the lower leg and the tube. So we have all the parts out. And again, this is already an aftermarket unit, but if it were stock unit, you just take all the parts out, go over to your wastebasket, dump them in. Wash it out real quick with parts washer, brake clean, whatever you're going to use. And then it gets real easy from there.
Do you need some parts cleaner? We actually got some.
Yeah, if you got some, that'd
Yep,
be great.
I got some.
So the kit comes with everything you need. It's got the top seal, it's got the top out spring, it's got everything you need. And basically, you're just going to slide it through the tube. Like that. Gonna
Thank you, sir.
put the lower cap
You're
piece in. He's going to wash this out real quick. Of course, that is environmentally correct product, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you can drink this stuff.
Right.
I mean, get up in the morning, I have it with my cereal.
It's made from sunflower seed oil.
It's exactly.
Who was it? RJ over there earlier, he said, my mouth tastes funny, and then he realized he was holding a bolt in there with red Loctite on it.
Oh, nice.
Again, that's not consumable. It's a chemical. I don't think it can really hurt RJ. He's gone. I don't even know where he went. Oh, there he is. He's holding the light. Looks like a government project over here, though. Got 5 guys doing one thing.
All right.
All right. So we slid it through.
What about your?
It's already on.
Oh, you already put it on.
Already
Okay.
done.
Sweet.
We're going to just slide this back into place.
Do you want to put new fork seals on?
Normally you would.
I got one.
You got them? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Then let's do it.
All right, let's
Again,
do it.
it's Patrick.
Well, I understand it is his bike, but
So what Mike was about to do is not afford Patrick fork seals, which is an option if you want a total loss system,
That's right.
but he does not. Now, Hank, talk to us a little bit about fork seals while you're doing it.
all right. Fork seals are a double lip seal. When you're putting the seal in, you want to make sure that your spring side of the seal is facing the oil area. That's your sealing side of the seal. If you look at the way the seal's tapered, it looks like when you put it in correctly, it looks like you're actually putting it in incorrectly, because it's got a taper at the top of it, which is actually the top of the seal. And if you put it in where you think the taper would go down, you'll have a leak.
Spring to the liquid. Spring to the liquid.
That's right. That's a
Sounds like a call at a bar. Spring to the liquid.
followed by the Murphys.
Yes, there you go.
So then we get our fork seal driver.
Oh, they make a tool for that.
I know. Yes.
The Sin Central Garage ought to have one of these.
Well, feel free to take that one home.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I got more at the shop.
He'd be looking
Hey, don't start giving me tools. I'll take tools,
He'd
man.
be looking around tonight going, what the heck?
That one's Patrick's.
Oh, right.
Poor Patrick.
Yeah, well. There is obviously a tool to install these. Because my son is a diesel mechanic, I have access to a lot of his large sockets. So I modified one of his sockets to make my own tool. I'm hoping that he hasn't realized I've taken that socket out of his box at work yet. So.
And what we're looking for is we want to get this fork seal down low enough for our snap ring to pop back in there.
There's a groove above the seal, so you just drive it down so it's below that, so that that snap ring will go right in the groove.
There we go.
Now, no more leaky. You can
want
tell
to
if your
wait-
fork seals are leaking because you'll have fork oil
Okay.
running
the way I usually
down
do is I usually put my oil in the bottom.
fork lowers.
No, you
So
won't.
if you feel like
You won't do that with
you're getting some
gonna-
splashing up there and you don't know where it's coming from,
Oh,
it's kind of
it's
weird,
block
the oil to run
and
down.
slick.
Okay.
But
That's your
because
fork
this
seal,
really
so.
doesn't need oil, you'll run it down from the top. What I do is I put this in,
Okay.
tighten it
Tighten it
up,
up, and then put
and
your
then I
fork
put the
oil.
oil in, then I screw the top up.
Okay. Well, so we were just talking about it. Traditionally, what I would do is when I'm assembling a fork tube, I would leave my rebound dampener screw out of the bottom, and because it's a 10 millimeter hole, I can put a funnel in there and pour the 24 ounces of fork oil that goes in there back in there, opposed to bleeding it out through the top. And then I'm done, fork's assembled, slide it up in the bike. On this particular setup, like Mike was explaining, the oil reliefs are here. There's no point in putting the oil down here at the base of the fork.
And there's another reason for that.
Okay.
The oil's there to
The oil is only there in this particular system to lubricate the factory
Seal.
bushing and seal. This unit is all self-contained. All the oil is in here. This unit doesn't need oil. This spring, the way it's designed, engineered, doesn't need oil. We're just putting 8 ounces of oil in here to lubricate this factory seal so you don't wear the seal out or burn the bushing. So we fill it through the top. There's cuts in here for it to seep down and do what it needs to do.
All right. That's pretty cool, though. I didn't.
It really is. I mean, we even have pictures. If you follow the pictures, you can't.
Well, I mean, that's a completely different mindset for me in terms of installing cartridges. I mean, that's.
oh, wrong tool.
Yeah, don't do that.
And yeah, normally there's a torque spec on that.
We don't have a.
I don't have the torque wrench with me,
There you go. Okay.
but before we put it in service, we'll make sure that it's torqued to the appropriate spec.
Again, if you ever have a motorcycle, you buy a motorcycle, you're going to
actually
want to
got
make sure that you also buy a service manual, whatever bike that is, and buy a torque wrench, buy a good torque wrench. Don't buy a cheapy torque wrench.
Stay away from Harbor Freight.
Stay away from Harbor Freight. Only because, not
let's do this.
talking junk. What happens, Mark was just sharing this with me that a guy had shared with him, and it makes good sense. The cheap torque wrenches get out of calibration. So anything under 30 pounds, which is pretty much 30 pounds and under, is a lot what you're going to be looking at in terms of your motorcycle foot-pounds of torque. They'll get out of calibration. You use them 4 or 5 times, they'll get hot and cold, and they're out of calibration, and they're no good anymore. And the cheaper ones really are almost impossible to recalibrate. Now, we also just looked up that there was a $13,000 torque wrench online today. $13,000 torque wrench.
American dollars?
American dollars. That's not bot. That is American dollars, and I want to see what that torque wrench does. But usually, I mean, someplace between 75 on the low end and 200 on the high. You can get a good torque wrench for that, 250. You want to spend
Well,
more
mine,
money?
the one I use on a regular basis is cost me $475.
$475. All right.
No, it's a payment plan.
Go spend $13,000 like Hank on a torque wrench. That you can make sure. But a torque wrench is a good tool to have.
All right, so we're going to put 8 ounces of fork oil in there. It's typically your standard Street Glide front end is going to carry 23.8 ounces. So, and
But we're just going to do 8
we're just
Yep.
gonna-
because the rest of it's inside.
Right. It's just to lubricate the factory seal. So. Did you measure 8? He's going to slap me.
Probably. He said, did you measure 8?
No, I want to count down. I should have 8 ounces left in the
That's
bottle.
why they do that on the outside of the jug there, Mike.
Picture.
Leave him alone, Mike.
Okay.
He's a volunteer.
Whoa. See, that's.
Jesus.
All right.
Man, I'm glad I'm not a part of that project. So, if you
Poured it too fast.
if you overfill it,
I poured it too fast.
he poured it too fast, it will come out. It's like if you have a glass and you fill it to the top too fast, you'll
Almost
spill.
8 ounces.
That's what Hank did. Good job, Hank. I'm glad it was you.
I
not
appreciate
me.
you pointing it out.
Hey, well, I mean, it's not like they couldn't see you. It's on camera. They got you on those screens up there.
I wasn't there.
It's on Facebook Live. It's all right. Only about 40,000 people just saw you do that around the country. That's Widowmaker Customs.
My name's Patrick.
Yeah. Patrick Murphy from Widowmaker Customs.
And we'll just.
All right. Now what are we doing?
We're just tightening up.
With a specialty tool. It comes with the
They came with the fork cartridge.
And unfortunately now, because the tube is
greasy.
full of oil, my hands are all oily.
You want to put it in the...
No, I don't want to.
Okay. Normally, we've got a...
Do you want to clean it with car
That's not a
cleaner?
bad idea.
Well, hey, I mean... Man,
I try not to be a know-it-all, but I know it all. So
So you
I was going to spray it for you, man.
my lungs.
Oh, your lungs? All right. So if you're just joining us on Facebook Live, you just kind of cruised up. What we've got here is we've got Mike from Suspension Technologies out of Florida and Hank Thibodeau out of Widowmaker Customs in North Carolina, and they are installing the Suspension Technology new fork cartridges in the forks of a 2015 Harley Davidson Street Glide.
Yes.
And if you have just wandered up and you're like, oh, that's cool, I want to know more about that. If you missed something, you can either come up and ask questions right now or whenever. If you need to see this closer, you can come up on stage. We're basically just trying to demystify the process of working on motorcycles and customizing things. So you're more than welcome to ask questions and just kind of hang out in our garage. But you can also, because we Facebook Live this, it's archived on Facebook, it's on social media forever. You can go to lots of social media places and find it. Go ahead, what you got?
And that's it. Done.
That's it.
It's all put together, done. Wipe it off, put it back in the bike, and you're good to go. And he's going to do the other one, and it's that simple. And like I said, you basically, when you take your fork apart, throw everything in the wastebasket, slide these in there, and it's a done deal.
Okay. Now, Mike, I want you to do one more thing for me. I want you to explain just one more time. We've taken a system out, but we're presuming that you're doing this on a stock motorcycle. What can someone expect from their motorcycle after they replace their stock system in their front forks with your cartridge? What can they expect to see?
Bikes, a lot of the big bikes are notorious for front end dive. Okay, gone. No more front end dive. With our fork system, front end dive is gone. The pop back, where it wants to bounce back, gone. When you're under throttle, dead stop, again, some of us are guilty, horsepower, let's go fast. So you dump the clutch, front end jumps right up, gone. The bike transitions smoothly, comes up nice and smooth, goes down nice and smooth. Panic stop, especially here. Traffic here is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Come to a
this is
traffic
great
light,
traffic. You
grabbing
guys
a
are
handful
super
of
drivers,
brake.
too.
Yeah. It's not going to dive anymore. It's going to control, go down like it's supposed to. It's also, again, going to follow the road. So you're going to get a nice, smooth, comfortable ride. But it's going to handle better. You're going to get better handling. He was talking about Jeff Nader earlier. When Jeff put our stuff on his bike, he found that he was going faster into the corners. He was more comfortable. He was able to ride a little more aggressive. We never recommend aggressive riding. Really, we don't.
Yeah,
but
I do.
He
doesn't.
You definitely can feel that your bike you're in more control.
And I'll tell you this, I don't own stake in the company or anything else, but I did get a set. It's the newest motorcycle I own. No, that's not true. Now I have a 2011 Harley Road King. But before that, my main ride is a 97 Road King. I just like old Evos, and this is the 13th incarnation of the bike. It now kind of looks like an old knucklehead. But I had some high-end shocks on it, and I ended up with a set of these suspension technology shocks on the back of my Harley. And you guys here actually are familiar with it. Dragon's Tail of the Dragon down in North Carolina, Georgia. I went there on the hot bike tour with this particular motorcycle, and I had no brakes when we got on the Tail of the Dragon. That bike is set up so that it doesn't have a hand brake. It's only got a foot brake that controls 3 calipers, 2 up front and 1 in the back. Stupid system, I know. Hey, it was creative. But that's why I had it set up. The pin had come out at the pedal, so I had no brakes, and I'm on the Tail of the Dragon. There's only one way to go on the Tail of the Dragon. Either way you go, you can't stay there overnight. It's just not a good. There's bears; they'll eat you. But so I had to ride the Tail of the Dragon with no brakes on a 97 Road King, and I just put these shocks on it, and I was like, man, this is going to be sketchy. Now I can tell you, it was still, it was white knuckle all the way. And because I was following a guy named Bob Kay and Kyle Shorey, and they were riding way too fast. And then they explained that I could have gone slower and just caught up with them later, but I didn't think about that. So I was carving. I tell you, it made a huge difference having those shocks on the back. It stuck to the road, and I was in the corners, and it allowed me, because I was having to downshift to control my braking. I tell you, it was phenomenal, and I just can't even imagine. The only problem I had was the diving and the pogoing coming in and out of corners from my front end, which I have the exact same system that you just pulled out of there. Took off of there.
So
he's getting you.
You say you do a lot of service work at Sin Central?
Yeah.
Maybe not so much brakes.
Well,
or brake pins.
A pin fell out, Chris. Pin fell out, for Christ's sake.
I'm just kidding.
Pin fell out.
I just thought it was funny when the little kid passed you on the GSXR on the Dragon.
Well, it was.
And we do have that on video.
Yeah, but it was very exciting. But anyway, the pogo, the diving and the coming up, and I call it pogoing on a bike when you're coming in and out of corners. I don't know if you guys experienced that. If this can eliminate that, it just makes riding that much more fun. So now I'm going to ask the ugly question. What does a set of your cartridges? What does a set of cartridges go for?
The retail on the cartridge is $6.99.
Okay.
And we're pretty proud of our warranty. We have a great warranty, and the reason is I don't have to warranty too many things.
Right.
I think when we last did the numbers, we have like a 0.5% of warranty for a year or whatever. So what it is basically is for the first 2 years it's unlimited. If you have an issue, I'm just going to send you another set of cartridges. After that, they're completely rebuildable. Like I said, we're one of the few companies that dyno our cartridges. So if you have an issue, you're going to send it back to me, and I'm going to put it on the dyno, and I'm going to check it out. And again, just like the rear shocks, same warranty. If it dynos out like it did originally, you got something else going on. And we can talk about that, and there's a 99% chance I can help you with that. And if it does have an issue, we're going to rebuild it and send it back to you. And starts all over again.
And just remember, folks, there's only 2 things that keep your motorcycle on the road, and that's your suspension and your tires. So being cheap on either one of those is stupid.
And brakes.
What's that?
And brakes.
Brakes don't keep your bike on the road, man. You can ride without brakes. I do it all the time. No, I don't anymore. That's just scary stuff. Man, I tell you. It was scary. Everybody said, man, you're one hell of a rider. And I was like, I did what? All right, but you're not just all about suspension.
No, we're not.
That's the suspension technologies part of what Mike does. Mike also came out with this really trick thing, and there's only 2 ways to make a motorcycle go in reverse. There's the way that you've always seen, and there's the way that they've come up with, and this is absolutely amazing. So, Mike, tell them about what you got else.
All right, well, first of all, at our shop, everybody is involved, okay? And my partners, again, Noah's out here, and my partners, they kind of ran across this product, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, 6 years ago. And the concept was cool, but it didn't work. but the concept was cool, and it was a mechanical reverse pulley. Basically, it replaced your stock pulley, and it makes your bike go backwards. Everybody at our shop does 3 and 4 things. Not one guy has one job. Sorry, we're not that big. And even if we were that big, it doesn't work that way at our place. Everybody's involved. Everybody has a stake in what we do. So collectively as a group, we made this mechanical reverse pulley work on the touring models. So this is a rear pulley that replaces your stock pulley. Guys, this is a planetary system. Planetary's come to the United States. They've been around forever. I think they came on the boat with Christopher Columbus. That's how long they've been here. What we did is we figured out how to make it work on your motorcycle. And it's simple mathematics. So in this pulley,
There's no such thing.
New math.
New math.
we have 14 gears in here. Rollers is what we call them. And they're made out of very proprietary material. And inside here we have a shuttle gear. There's 2 gears. There's a gear here, and there's a gear inside that shuttles back and forth. We make an axle, and that axle moves that shuttle gear through this air piston right here. Not very complicated so far, right? It's really not. The way these touch inside is what keeps it from rolling over itself. It's what makes it back up. So we put a small air pump in your saddlebag. It works off your Harley factory accessory switches. The bike has to be in neutral, because we knew somebody someday was going to say, hey, hold my beer, watch this. No. The bike has to see neutral. The bike has a computer chip in there. It says it's in neutral, low RPMs. Flip the switch. This axle piston moves. It moves the shuttle gear inside. Your bike is now in reverse. Put the bike in first gear. Let the clutch out. This rolls forward like it always does. This rolls backwards, and your bike will back up. And it will back up for as long as you want it to. Once you get to where you're going, you put your bike back in neutral. You push the button. This is spring-loaded. It will automatically go back to what we call the happy place. It will go back to locking this up so you're not left stranded, and now you're back and forward, go down the road. It's that simple. Now, I say it's that simple. No, what, 5 years and a bazillion dollars to develop? But it's phenomenal. And what's really cool about this is, and you know, I have people all the time say to me, what do I need reverse for? I can push my bike backwards. I can get up and change the channel on my TV. What do I need a remote for?
Yeah,
It's
I got
really
kids. What do I need a
convenient.
remote for?
Yeah, exactly. I thought that's what dishwashers
That was my dad's remote. I worked good.
Yeah, me too. Me and my brothers.
Yeah.
But the average rider in the big touring bikes, he's 50, 60 years old. Most of us lived really hard when we were younger. Didn't think we were going to get to this age. Got bad knees, bad hips. This makes life really easy. So you now have reverse. You don't have to push that big, heavy bike backwards. The market that's growing, the segment of the Harley market that's growing a lot is the female rider. And there's a lot of females that they don't want to ride a Sportster. They want to ride a street glide. They want to ride a road glide. We got a motor maid, Pam. She's amazing. She just bought a brand new CVO road glide, and she won't get rid of her other street glide. And she happens to have reverse on both of them. But again, it makes it nice to have a reverse on your bike. You don't have to worry about where you're parking. You can park anywhere you want. You can get out of that parking spot with a push of a button.
I mean, who hasn't? You pull off, you're supposed to back up to the curb, right? We all know that. Back up to the curb, back up to the curb. But you pull in and you're like, oh, that's not so bad. It's just going to be inconvenient. I'm blocking traffic. And all of a sudden your front tire goes,
Ain't no moving it backwards.
and you're done. And you're like, oh, man. Or you pull in and you got to park on grass, which is always a great idea at a motorcycle event. So you're parking on the grass and you get there and you just kind of feel your bike going down into the grass. You're not going to back it back out of there. Man, when I ran into these cats, they were just coming out with this, right? And the reason I don't let Noah talk is because Noah's too smart. I mean, Mike's really smart, but nobody understands what Noah says. He talks math. And but I ran into Noah and Mike, and we were out in Sturgis introducing this reverse. And what was the little racer's name?
Oh.
Anyway, a friend of mine, Shalina Moreta, who's a motorcycle racer in California, hooked us up with this other racer, a female, who was going to demonstrate the reverse out there on the big bikes. She shows up and she's like this tall. I mean, she's on her tippy toes with the bike that was out there. The Road King was lowered as far as you could lower it, and people are walking by and they see her, and it was crazy. The setup was actually at the top of a hill. The display, so she would park the bike down there, people would walk by, and she'd be backing the bike up the hill, and they'd be going, what? Absolutely amazing, just effortlessly releasing your clutch. But the other thing I like about this, and I mentioned it to you earlier, was, the only other way to do a reverse on a bike, there's a lever at the transmission. So you got to take your hands off. You're already in a precarious situation, right? Because you got to go backwards and you're having a difficult time. Now you've got to take one of your hands off your handlebars and engage your reverse. And as soon as you engage that reverse, your bike's going to move. And you don't have both hands on your handlebars. With this, you're just releasing the clutch like you're in first gear, and it's going to roll backwards. It's going to take care of it. And it's just that simple. So,
well, based on what you were just saying with the reverse lever for the trike setups, in order to install that setup, the kit itself is a $1,800 kit that you install in your transmission, that you have to spend another $1,000, $800 to $1,000 in labor to install that reverse. This kit, you don't have all that labor involved in the installation. The kit price point is right on point where it needs to be. The quality of the material is great, and I've done the install in the kits. The install is super simple. The first time you do it, there's a little bit of, there's pictures.
Yeah. Well, in Greasing Gears Garage, we're not, we don't want to be infomercials and that, but this is custom stuff. When you're looking at custom, when you want to customize your bike, this is now allowing you, and we've had Dan from Zippers here all weekend too, he's a great proponent of saying this stuff. You want to make your bike, customizing your bike, makes your bike do what you want it to do. That's why you should customize a bike. Some people customize bikes. Hank has the 11-foot chopper up there. But what its goal is to do is to draw attention. You take that thing, there's no bones about it. It's not like, well, I built this bike to handle and perform well. That thing's not going to handle and perform well.
I'm not going to dump truck.
I'm not going to bag on you. I built a 10.5-foot chopper last year too. Whatever. I got it to 80 miles an hour and I thought I was going to kill myself. But also, if you want to customize something, maybe it is that you're customizing it so that it performs better. This is the kind of item, the suspension upgrades, those are the kinds of items that you customize your bike with them. Now you've given yourself more enjoyment with that bike, and it's all going to allow you to take your bike wherever you want to go, easier, simpler, and safer. So, I mean, that's truly the kind of the flavor of what customization is about. Yes. What kind of horsepower, Gary Hahn wants to know, what kind of horsepower can the pulley handle?
Well, we have had several guys with the 120Rs put this on their bike, and they've had no problem. We had one customer, and again, I didn't see the bike. I got to take his word for it. He had a Kendall Johnson motor, and from what I understand, the horsepower on those are pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. And
he's got a reverse on his bike. He did send us a picture of it was a Road Glide, I believe, or Street Glide with the front end about this high in the air. He's going to tear up his belt or his swing arm before he's going to tear up my pulley. And the same thing, once this is all captured in there, it's not going anywhere.
You're going to be able to do 140 horsepower at the rear tire.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to handle that. And you can do a burnout in reverse with this.
No, well, you can. We strongly don't recommend it, but you can.
And you will. Because you can. Yes. Jerry Hildeman wants to know, what years will this fit?
Currently, this will fit 2009 to current touring models, Road King on up. We are working on what we call the bolt-on, which will fit 2008 down to 2000. And we don't have that finished yet, but we are working on it.
And now, did I hear you say earlier, Noah said he can build anything. So are you going to eventually kind of think, I like to convert everything to a chain?
And that's very doable, to be honest with you. I mean, we make everything in-house. So my CAD guy, who's also an assembly guy, who's also, Chris Briscoe is his name, parts procurement, he's phenomenal. We could convert this to a chain. We could make this outer sprocket work for a chain. We could do that. Now, I tell you that because I'm not going to do it overnight. It's going to take a few weeks to make it happen. Another question?
The cost.
So, retail on this is $21.95, but we have been selling it for $19.95, $1,995. Again, we have quite a few years and quite a few dollars put into it for R&D. And so the cost of this, we sell it at all the major shows. Hank carries it at his shop and stuff, is $19.95, but it has a 2-year unlimited warranty. So if there should be any kind of issues, we just swap it out. So, okay. Perfect.
This works better for
Couldn't back it
Facebook
up.
folks to be able to hear that.
So,
So that's why I was kind of like interested in it, because that was a brand new bike, just came off the showroom floor, and because he couldn't put it in reverse, his tires spun on gravel. The bike went down.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have had that problem.
Wouldn't have had that problem. And actually, we have a lot of guys, and we do it ourselves to show the product off. We have it in our trailer, and when we put our bikes in our trailer, they're in a Condor wheel chalk. And we'll put the bike in reverse in the trailer and back it out of the trailer, right out of the wheel chalk and everything. And we live in Florida where there's sand everywhere. No matter where you go, there's sand. And it makes it real nice because people drop their bikes. So, and I'll be happy to talk to you right after we're done here and give you some more information, my business card and all that stuff. So
I think it's sweet that you still come to events with your dad. That's real nice. That's sweet. All right. Well, Mike, what else do you have for us?
First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Hank. Hank was very kind to help us out here and put up with us, and as he does week after week as we're on the phone. And I want to thank you guys. This is primarily our products at this point.
Yeah.
And we're always working on new and fun stuff. So.
All right. So you can go to Suspension Technologies or Yelvington Designs.
Either or.
Either or. And so, yeah, check it out. You can also, obviously, Grease and Gears Garage. We're on Facebook. So you can go to motorcycleshows.com, the Progressive International Motorcycle Show official website. You can go to jmpcycles.com, their social media, Cycle Source Magazine, or you can go to our YouTube channel at Grease and Gears Garage, and you can you'll be able to see this and pull this up and get all that same information.
I don't know. I was
so, Mike, I appreciate you being with us. Thanks for
thank you.
Man, thanks for coming up with Trick Custom stuff. Hank, as always good to see you. Chris, you guys have been making a lot of noise over here. Tell me what you're doing over here.
We're figuring.
Figuring. That's what the noise was. Because we can't figure without making noise.
Listen, listen, how many chopper builders are out there? I'm a big fan of building choppers. Choppers have this many wires. That's it. And a battery, you know. This motorcycle is way more complicated. So we're going to spend all night here, but the thing that I want to tell you guys is if you go to Cycle Source, our social media, our Facebook page, we're actually going to be shooting some Facebook through the night. They've agreed to let us stay in the place so we can get this thing ready. So you guys can keep up with us if you watch what we're doing. Last night we were here until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was very dark.
It was very dark. They turned the stage lights off, and all of us are blind, right? Anyway, and so they turned the stage lights off, and so we've got all of our phones out with the lights on and stuff. So
it was
awesome. It's
awesome.
really exciting. But War Pony, just to catch you guys up, and then I think we're finished with our segment. War Pony is a bike, obviously, we're building here. The reason it's War Pony, it is Chris built Cycle Source Magazine riding on the back of a 2003 Harley Davidson dresser, and had 250,000 miles on it, loaned it to a friend, got T-boned. Friend was fine, bike was not, it was totaled. And so, but Chris had ridden that bike on the Hokahay Run, which was a race from Key West to Alaska in order to raise money for the Lakota tribe to resolve some of their clean water issues. And which was it's a phenomenal story that you'll have to hear someday. But Chris decorated his bike like Crazy Horse's War Pony for that ride. And when that bike got totaled, had a great motor in it, but
It had the best. It already had the Baker DD, direct drive six-speed transmission. Already had a crazy S&S motor that we had tuned at Zipper. So I bought that back from the insurance company, and the intention was someday, like we pushed it off to the corner, and someday we'll get to it. And man, this opportunity that came up with Paco's new chassis.
So what do you do with a 2003 Harley that's been totaled? You don't rebuild it because it's not worth it. But because it had that nice drivetrain in it, when Chris ran into Paco and they were just starting this FXR style frame that would take that driveline, we wanted to put the soul of Black Pearl was the name of the bike. And we wanted to put the soul of that back into a bike. So Chris has put that into this. And War Pony will be painted eventually to resemble Crazy Horse's pony again, and it'll be on Bonneville doing
I think
80 miles an hour.
One of the big lessons, and this is stuff that we try to bring out in the magazine all the time, one of the big lessons to take away from this, you could buy that bike wrecked from an insurance company for about $2,000, $2,000 to $3,000. So the moral of the story really is, maybe you're not at a place where the $25,000, $30,000 motorcycle, but if you get your hands on something like that, we bought a $600 front end off of Craigslist, got a chassis from Paco. The front or the rear fender is actually a front fender that we used off of another bike. So we swap meet some parts together, and I mean, you're still several $1,000s into a build, but it's nothing like.
We're chopper guys, and so you build it as you go. You use what you can use, and so this is going to be a nice chopper that we're able to do. So, what'd you say? Oh,
So, I'm a chopper guy. You're a car guy.
I'm a car guy. I was a car guy until I sold all my cars. Now I'm just a guy.
No, he
but
has
anyway.
a crazy sick chopper, Royal Enfield, that's like 32 feet long.
It's 10.5 feet long. My son dropped it off at a show in Milwaukee this weekend. There was a 4x8 freight elevator to get it to the third floor. And so 6 guys had to carry it up 3 flights of steps to get it in the show area this weekend, and Mama tried. So he says I owe him, and all my buddies are mad at me now. So, well, look, what's that? It's Skinny Mini, 6 inches wide. So yeah, I named it after me. Of course, they call me Skinny Mini because I'm athletically built.
There's a throttle body on that bike right now.
It's going to run tomorrow, Chris. Well, listen, we're going to keep Facebook Live in this later. I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie and the Progressive crew. Thanks, Facebook Live, folks, for being with us, Grease and Gears Garage. Thank you, folks. We'll be back tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much. That is our final presentation from our friends at Grease.